Wednesday evening. Over the years, my wife often entertained me with stories from her office during dinner. Some of these tales centered around the supposedly fictional escapades of the women's girls' nights at work. I inquired about these gatherings and emphasized that I disapproved of such activities. You might call me old-fashioned, and that's perfectly acceptable to me. Growing up in a small town where everyone knew each other's business, my parents instilled simple rules in my brothers and me, such as, if it feels wrong, it probably is wrong. My personal favorite was, married people have no business in bars. Only cheaters and drunks frequent bars. After college, I managed a nightclub for a corporate restaurant chain, exposing me to the antics of cheaters and predators in bars firsthand. I had hoped I wouldn't need to address this issue with my wife. I believed I had made my stance clear. After dinner, Nita joined me on the sofa while I flipped through channels. "Honey, do you mind if I go out with the girls on Friday night?" "Of course I do," I replied, setting the remote down and turning to face her. She smiled. "Honey, it's not what you think." I countered, "It's exactly what I think. Married women going to bars and nightclubs, pretending to be single teenage girls again, and engaging with men other than their husbands. People say they get all worked up, but they go home and make love to their husbands," she explained. "Bullshit," I retorted. "And how do they get all worked up? Kissing men who aren't their husbands, touching them, or allowing themselves to be touched." I paused. And remember, Cheryl's alcohol problem started with girls' night. If she hadn't started going, she might never have become an alcoholic. Nita ran her fingers over my lap, sensing my arousal. "But I want to go. I'm 40, and the girls think I need to feel pretty and sexy." I wasn't pleased. "So you want other men, besides me, to tell you that you're attractive? Don't I do that enough?" I removed her hand from my lap. "You have to say that, you're my husband," she insisted. Growling, I thought, "I don't have to say those things, I say them because they're true." I stood up to go to our bedroom. "I'll give you a chance to make the right decision. I won't stop you from going out with the girls on Friday, but you won't like the consequences if you do." And with that, the conversation ended. Friday evening. Nita admired her reflection in the mirror. Her little black dress complemented her figure perfectly, with just the right amount of cleavage and a tasteful hemline. Grabbing her clutch, she slid her keys into place and headed down the hall from their master suite on the first floor. "Honey, I'm heading out," she called. I emerged from the downstairs bathroom, applying aftershave to my freshly shaved face. Dressed in my best black suit, I exuded confidence, my attire impeccable, my hairstyle to perfection, and a polished smile on my lips. She looked taken aback. "Why are you all dressed up?" Her tone was laced with irritation now. "I'm going out tonight too," I replied, adjusting my shirt sleeves. "If you think I'm staying home while you go out with your coworkers, then you're mistaken. If you can act like you're single, so can I." With those words, I strode past her, made my way to the garage, and drove off. Entering the first club, I felt a tinge of apprehension. Men in suits were a minority here, and I aimed to appear successful, not desperate. Leaning against the bar, I surveyed the room. A group of 4 young women caught my eye. As I sipped my first drink, a petite blonde from their table approached me. "Do you dance, or are you just here to observe?" she asked. Taking her hand, I led her onto the dance floor. Dancing used to be a favorite pastime when I was single, and I realized I missed it. Introducing myself as Miranda did the same, and we enjoyed 3 dances together before returning to her table. Over the next few hours, I bought several rounds of drinks and danced with all the women. They were young and unattached, and I couldn't deny their attractiveness. Susanna, Double D, and Kara were among them. Double D, in particular, drew attention with her ample assets on display. Unbeknownst to me, my wife and her group of friends, if they could even be called that, considering their intentions to disrupt others' marriages, had also entered the nightclub and were searching for a table. As Susanna and I finished the dance and made our way back to the booth where Miranda and Double D were seated, Susanna noticed my wife glaring at us. Seated at the booth, I spotted Nita with an intense gaze fixed on me. I waved casually and took a seat beside Miranda. My eyes followed Nita as she led her group toward our booth. Would you like to join us? I offered upon their arrival. My group shifted over to make space, except for Kara, who had left with a young man, freeing up a bit more room. Nita's friends began to take seats, unaware of my identity. Standing beside me, my wife looked down at me. What do you think you're doing? You're a married man. Well, don't act so surprised, my dear wife. I warned you that if you decided to go out and behave like a single woman, there would be consequences. These are some of them. If you can play the single game, so can I. The thought of her slapping me briefly crossed my mind. Glancing at her seated companions, I questioned, which one of you convinced my wife to throw away nearly 20 years of marriage to go gallivanting around tonight? I was met with blank stares and silence. Where are your husbands? Are they at home with the kids while you're out fooling around, or are they off with the babysitter while you're out with strangers tonight? That remark earned me a slap. Then, Double D asked a question that would ignite the table. Do you ladies have open marriages? She smirked, casting a glance at me and then at Nita. If you do, I can't wait to spend the night with John. If he's as good in bed as he is on the dance floor, I might be in heaven. Nita shook her fist at Double D and stormed off. I watched her exit the building. She's our ride, one of her friends remarked. They began to chase after her, but I halted them. Stay, have some fun, and I'll take all of you home in a little while. Over the next 2 hours, I danced at least a couple of times with each of Nita's friends. They were forward. While Miranda's group danced closely but respected my boundaries, Nita's friends had none. They pressed their cleavage against me and freely touched or groped me on the dance floor. Miranda was happy to use my phone to capture footage of them dancing with other men in the club. During the ride to drop off Nita's friends, questions like, "Do you ever cheat?" and "Would you like a side piece?" were thrown at me. Inside, I had the urge to kick them out. I had strived to stay fit and healthy without going to the gym, wanting Nita to be proud of me. They made it seem like their husbands were lazy and out of shape while the clubs were filled with fit, attractive men waiting to spice up their nights before going home to Mr. Sex on Saturday night. It seemed, and I knew it to be true, that some men do become complacent after marriage. As I parked in the driveway and entered the front door, I was met with Nita, still in her little black dress, drinking from a nearly full glass of wine. Judging by the nearly empty bottle on the coffee table, she had indulged in quite a bit. The argument began as accusations flew from both sides. She couldn't comprehend why I hadn't stayed home like the other husbands. "What's good for the goose is good for the gander," I retorted. The conversation quickly turned to my new acquaintances. Grabbing her shoulders, I took a deep sniff. "Before you say anything else, care to explain why you smell like smoke and men's cologne?" Staring back at me, she replied, "I don't know what you're talking about." "You smell like men's cologne. You were close enough to a man to have his scent rub off on you. So, you failed the husband test tonight. If you want to continue this discussion, the consequences will be more severe." Handing her my phone, I added, "I have several videos on my phone of your so-called friends grabbing my crotch tonight. You might want to find new friends because every single one of them crossed the line." As I headed to the shower, she hurled the word liar at me. To say that things were icy between us for the next few days would be an understatement. Wednesday afternoon, I received a text from Nita informing me that she was going to dinner with the girls and would be back by 9. Miranda, who was a personal trainer, had offered to help me get into better shape, so I had her card. I decided to extend an invitation to her and the other girls for dinner at our place. It's rare for single ladies to turn down a great home-cooked meal. I grilled steaks, whipped up some homemade mashed potatoes, and tossed a salad. My sons were thrilled as we gathered around the dinner table. They couldn't take their eyes off Double D's chest. I couldn't either. When I had told them we were having company for dinner, they had expected old, overweight men from the office. They were in for a surprise when they saw hot babes instead. Nita exploded when she walked in sometime after 8:30. We were all laughing and enjoying each other's company. I sat back at the head of the table, with Miranda and Susanna on my right and my 2 sons with Double D on my left. "What are they doing here?" she exclaimed. I smiled. "You had dinner with your friends, so I had dinner with mine. The boys made new friends tonight, too." I gestured to the empty chair opposite mine. "Join us." She huffed and stormed off. It seemed like she just wasn't getting the message. Another week passed, and Friday rolled around. Dressed in my favorite business suit, I waited to see what Nita would do. She entered the living room wearing the shortest skirt I'd never seen before, paired with a low-cut sweater that accentuated her cleavage. "I see you're dressing the part now," I remarked. Her gaze turned to one of pure hatred. "I'm not a slut." "Not for me, you're not, but it certainly looks like it for other men," I replied. "If it walks like a duck." I trailed off. It had been over 3 weeks without sex. She was withholding it because she didn't like what I was doing and because I was friends with hot young women. She knew I wouldn't cheat on her due to my values. Little did she know, I had something in my pocket besides my wallet. Tonight marked the official end of our marriage. As we stepped into the garage and she got into her SUV, I couldn't help but ask, "You can stop this now, and maybe, in time, we can salvage what we've lost." She flipped me off and slammed her door shut. As I arrived at the spinnaker, Miranda waved to me from a round table, her right arm raised high. I reciprocated the gesture. As I approached the table, I noticed there were more people than I had expected. Miranda proceeded to make introductions. Dee Dee has her visitor, and Kara brought a date, so I invited my mom, Autumn. She gestured towards a mature, curvier version of herself with shoulder-length reddish-brown hair, and her bestie, Cheryl Lynn. She indicated an attractive mature woman with silver curls cascading down her shoulders. During dinner, it became apparent that Susanna and Miranda had briefed the mature ladies on the recent events in my life. I outlined my plans for the evening's dancing and enjoying each other's company, but emphasized the importance of having our cell phones ready to record if we encountered Nita and her friends. At the first club, I danced closely with the 4 ladies, feeling the rhythm pulse through the room. Autumn, in particular, was a remarkably sensual dance partner. She revealed she was a dance instructor, and I admitted my desire to learn. She promised to teach me. As the night progressed, Miranda mentioned that Susanna was bored, so we decided to head to another club. It was close to midnight when we arrived. Suddenly, Miranda nudged me, pointing to the dance floor. My heart sank as I saw Nita engaged in a close, slow dance with a young man, their bodies pressed tightly together. "Cameras on, ladies," I instructed, handing mine to Autumn. "Miranda, help me separate them. You pull Nita back, and I'll handle Loverboy." With cameras poised, Miranda and I swiftly made our way to my wife. Miranda grabbed Nita from behind, causing them both to tumble to the floor. "Hands off my wife!" I shouted as I wrestled the young man away, using a maneuver to trip him. He fell backward onto the floor, and I delivered a swift blow to his groin with my knee. Once he was down, I unleashed a series of punches to his face, berating him for his behavior. Cell phones emerged from the crowd, capturing the altercation in hopes of a viral video. Suddenly, I felt a sharp impact on my head, possibly from a beer bottle. The next thing I knew, I was being shoved away from the scuffle, with kicks raining down on me. I curled up on the floor, trying to protect myself and minimize the damage. This suit was undoubtedly ruined. 2 bouncers intervened, breaking up the fight. One helped me to my feet, blood streaming from my nose. I recounted the events leading up to the altercation, explaining how I had found my wife in a compromising situation and intervened to protect her. Nita unleashed a torrent of accusations, blaming me for ruining their night. The bouncers intervened, instructing all of us to leave both my group and Nita's, along with the 3 young men. "Why do we have to leave?" demanded Nita. Miranda quipped, "Grandma slut," he said all of us. Nita's reaction was swift, a slap from her to Miranda, met with a punch to the nose in retaliation. As we exited into the cool night air, Nita held a Kleenex to her nose. I inquired of the bouncers, "Any issue with me taking care of these guys outside?" "No problem, as long as it's off the premises." "Parking lot's fair game," one replied with a smile before closing the door. Approaching one of the young men, I landed a solid punch to his face, sending him and his companion stumbling backward against a nearby Nissan. The taller of the two attempted to retaliate, but I swiftly subdued him, twisting his arm behind his back and delivering a series of blows to his abdomen. "Learn to respect married women," I admonished, landing a final punch for good measure. As I turned back to the women, Cheryl expressed her admiration. "God, I'm so turned on right now. A man who defends a woman's honor is incredibly sexy." Nita shot her a glare, but Cheryl wasn't deterred. "You've cast him aside for some stranger, so I'm calling dibs. I'll have him until he can't stand." Miranda interjected, "Sorry, Auntie, but DD had dibs." Cheryl smirked. "Mine are bigger." Amidst laughter from Autumn, Cheryl, Miranda, and Susanna, I approached Nita with a folded envelope. "Here, these are for you," I said, bouncing it lightly on her chest. "Divorce papers." Shock registered on Nita's face. "What?" "Exactly that. I've had enough. While you're out enjoying yourself, I've moved your belongings to storage. Don't bother coming home tonight, we're finished." She hesitated, so I took her hand and placed the envelope in it, then walked away with my group, leaving only Autumn behind. "Miranda, could you order me an Uber, please?" Glancing back, I observed a woman I barely knew comforting my wife as she wept. Nita's friends quietly departed to their cars. Driving the ladies back to their vehicles at the restaurant, I didn't realize Autumn had my phone until Miranda returned it to me the next morning. "Mom recorded something for you," she said, her smile tinged with sadness, before walking away. Sitting at my desk in my home office, I sipped my coffee and played the recording on my phone. Miranda had thoughtfully prepared it for easy access, sparing me from scrolling through last night's recordings. The audio began with their Uber ride. Autumn directed the driver to an all-night diner on 6th. Most of the recording featured Autumn consoling Nita as she wept, suggesting she might finally be understanding. Autumn ordered 2 coffees and apple pie a la mode for them to share. As I listened further, I couldn't help but smile at this unexpected intervention from someone I barely knew. Autumn began, "Nita, can I call you that? We're strangers, but I want to welcome you to the Divorcee Life Support Group. You'll meet plenty of men who'll sleep with you but won't care about you beyond using you. They won't take care of your kids, do chores, or buy you dinner unless they feel like it or have enough money. They won't bother with birthday or anniversary gifts. They'll lie to you constantly, from flattery to I love you, just to get what they want. And these days, they expect you to swallow and even demand anal sex." She paused, her tone tinged with sadness. "I've been where you are. As a dance instructor, I've been hit on countless times. 10 years ago, I got involved with a student. We went for coffee after his lessons, met for lunches. My husband asked me to stop, but I refused, feeling entitled to the relationship. I didn't plan on having sex with him, but I was too blind to see I was cheating on my husband and daughter. When my husband gave me an ultimatum, I brushed it off, believing I was free to do as I pleased. Now, nearly 9 years post-divorce, I lead a lonely life. Nights like tonight with my daughter are the highlights. I grew tired of meaningless sex with men who didn't care about my satisfaction. But enough about the loneliness you'll face in the future. Your husband is a rare find, a true catch. He won't be alone for long. With his excellent job, love for his family, loyalty, honesty, and undeniable charm, women will be drawn to him. Let me paint you a picture of what might happen while you're busy with every young man you meet at the clubs, none of whom are exactly the cream of the crop, I might add. John is going to have his fair share of fun with DD for a month, then perhaps Miranda or Susie will take their turn. After he's had his fill of their youthful allure, he might decide to broaden his horizons, dating women of various races, body types, and sizes. Who knows, he might explore different preferences, from tall to short, curvy to slim, busty to flat-chested. I can't predict what he'll fancy. And then, in about a year's time, I'll swoop in and make him mine. I'm being upfront about my intentions." Nita's voice breaks as she responds, "Why are you doing this to me?" "You did this to yourself, dear. You discarded him, and I intend to catch him. You've disrespected John as a man and as a husband. I'm sure there are people he does business with who've seen you out and about with your friends, not behaving like his wife. When he's with me, I'll do everything to make him happy. I won't disrespect him. I'll be devoted to him, showing my love through my actions, words, and body. I'll dress up for him at home and won't step out looking better than I do for him. He'll be my everything. We're not getting any younger. I'm probably 5 years older than you. I know I have maybe 7 to 9 good years of sex left. You might have 10 to 12. As menopause approaches, sex might become uncomfortable. But if I have to give John oral pleasure to keep him happy, I'll do it willingly. We discussed your situation at dinner tonight. I shared mine, and he shared yours. It seems you've been withholding intimacy because he doesn't approve of the person you're becoming. You haven't apologized. Attempting to divert the conversation, Nita retorts, "Your daughter called me grandma slut." I'm not a grandma. My daughter speaks her mind. Just look at yourself. Obviously, you picked out that outfit for tonight. You seem desperate, too desperate. In my opinion, you've been depriving John of intimacy, so tonight, dressed as you are, you'll seek solace elsewhere and blame it on him since you two haven't been intimate in nearly a month, claiming a need. Am I wrong? After a pause, take a photo of yourself and see how you resemble a grandma trying to be a woman. Sometimes, the mirror doesn't reflect reality, but a photo doesn't lie. Do I really look that bad? Nita asked. Autumn replied, kinda, yeah. What should I do? Autumn answered, I don't know about you, but if I were in your shoes, I'd beg for his forgiveness, if there's any left. I'd dedicate myself to making John happy, whether it's through sex or cooking his favorite meals. Send your teenagers out for the night, meet John at the door, and do something special. But I don't know if that'll work for you. You've disrespected him. Respect is just as important as sex to men, and you've shattered his trust. He won't trust you again. He saw you tonight throwing yourself at that young guy. He knows he can't trust you anymore. After a pause of maybe 10 seconds, Autumn spoke again. You need better friends. Those women wanted to ruin your marriage, and they succeeded. I know John gave you that recording from when he took them all home a few weeks ago. I listened to it, and I would have been furious if I were you. Every one of them offered to sleep with your husband. You might tolerate that behavior in a friend, but I don't. They did that? Didn't you listen to the recording? No, I was too angry at him for going out with those young girls. Women aren't children, Nita. And those women saw what a catch he is, even if you couldn't see how attractive he is to other women. She continued, you need to let go of that feminist nonsense about what you need and don't need a man for, and how you deserve to do whatever you want. Because since he's been going out when you do, he's learned what he deserves. He deserves the attention of women who respect him and want to earn his trust. You can't undo that. Honestly, Nita, why would he want you when he can have his pick of women? You're older, past your prime, and he doesn't need you to have his children. Based on how you spend his money, he's probably better off without you. The recording ended with Nita sobbing. I relocated her to the guest room. Our sons weren't taken aback by this move. They'd witnessed her hostility toward me and them over the past month, so it was no surprise that I removed her from the master bedroom. She pleaded for forgiveness, but I'm making her earn it. We won't be intimate until her STD test results are back. I can't bring myself to trust her fidelity. Despite her assurances, I remain skeptical. I refused to kiss her because she shared what should have been reserved for us with other men, and I have evidence to support this. There have been no more girls' nights, and she seems to be distancing herself from her former friends. I'm grateful that Autumn and Cheryl have become our friends. Autumn's straightforwardness constantly reminds Nita of her wrongdoing, while Cheryl's persistent inquiries about whether I can sleep with her yet have motivated Nita to step up her efforts. It's been 6 months, and things have improved, albeit differently. Rebuilding trust will take more time, possibly years. I no longer trust my wife in the same way. Whenever she goes out, I wonder who she's with. Did she fabricate a shopping trip? Is she truly having lunch with friends? During counseling, she admitted to not having sex with any of the men but enjoying the thrill of their mutual touch. Yes, she did touch them. She was taken aback the first time I had lunch with an attractive coworker while she went out with a friend to her favorite lunch spot. She should expect this reaction when I don't accompany her. She goes out, I go out.